Namo Phat, good morning. Thank you for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The fifth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I vow to cultivate good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society, by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body, in my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I'm determined not to use alcohol or any other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. I'm aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and future generations. I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and in society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. I understand that a proper diet is crucial for self-transformation and the transformation of society. We're reading for our Dharma lessons a book by the monastics of Abhayagiri called Beginning Our Day. And this morning's selection is Don't Fill Up the Void by Ajahn Jotipalo. Why did you come to Abhayagiri? What brought you here? Simply bring that inquiry into your mind. After traveling for the last month and being fairly busy, I returned to Abhayagiri a few days ago. I've tended to go back to my kuti in the afternoons, and it's been really quiet. There have been no expectations or demands on me. I've noticed in the past, after a period of busyness, when I go back to my kuti for some quiet time, there's a feeling of melancholy that comes up, and a feeling that I should be doing something. I've been looking at that for the last 2 days, going back to my kuti and sitting there with that feeling. I'm not trying to label it anxiety, depression, or whatever else the mind wants to call it. I'm just looking at it as a physical sensation and seeing how the mind is reacting to it, how the mind is trying to figure out what it is and why it's there. When I feel this way, my tendency and desire is to say to myself, I should go do something to help the monastery, or read a book, or do walking meditation. There is this low-grade desire in me to avoid feeling this melancholy. I don't want to feel it. Even something as wholesome as reading or studying, if the intention behind that is to avoid feeling something, then it's good to investigate that. For at least a period of our afternoon, when we have solitude, I think it is good to set aside some time to do nothing in particular. Don't think of it as trying to meditate or trying to focus on the mind. Just sit there and be willing to feel what you're feeling. See what happens. See if it's aversion or pleasure. To me, this really gets back to that first question, what brought me here? We're often trying to fill up the void we feel with activities, planning, or whatever, merely because we don't want to feel the discomfort of that void or of any other unwanted emotion. When we do this, we're not honoring the wholesome intentions that brought us here. So instead, when we find ourselves avoiding our experience, we can take the time to be quiet and be willing to feel what we are feeling. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.